And we're back. It takes so long.
Episode 27.
Yeah, and it takes so long now that we only do once a week.
Oh, I feel like we should be doing like 10 more shows a week.
I know.
I don't know about you guys, but I definitely think it was the best one. Maybe a little biased.
Already? I like it.
I mean, from the women's standpoint, of course, the guys are better to look at, but we put on a better show.
Depending on the woman. Come on now, Val.
Yeah, I suppose. Yep. Okay.
I love it. It's already getting competitive. I love it.
All right, I'm shouting out to our folks on YouTube and letting them know to start sending in the questions here.
See, Josh is so professional. I'm just a wreck.
Right.
Josh gets everything running. He books everybody. He's the best.
Yeah, but you wrote the theme song.
I did write the
concert a lot in my book.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
This is the Josh and John love show. Let's see if they can outlove
I
one another.
know.
Right.
Well, we can't compete with you guys. There's no way.
Yeah.
If you've watched the show, you know I basically rag on John the whole time. So this is just like I'm being nice because we just started. A couple of minutes, it's going to get painful for him.
Yeah. Well, I know. I was trying to be really nice to make Josh feel sick because he just ate a bunch of Oreos before we went on air.
You have no idea how many Oreos I just ate. It's disgusting.
Nice.
All right. So anyway, we're psyched to have you guys on the show. I'm really happy you guys came on. And I actually agree with you, Val. I thought it was an amazing show. I was sad that we had to fit 6 weight classes in on one show because some of the matches were unbelievable. And for me,
that's a lot of great ones too, But
yeah,
that's
I'm sure.
Start.
I was so impressed by some of these, you guys included, just in general, the amount of skill that was on the table. It's kind of sad that you guys only got one show.
Well, I'm just happy that we got a show. Like we're talking.
Yeah.
Last year we had 1 minute of a little clip, but I mean the reality is it's like any league when they're starting up, right? They have to develop a following. I mean UFC took 7 years to be established before people really bought in and sponsors jumped on. So I'm sure Valerie feels the same, but we're just thrilled that we're getting any kind of exposure. And each one of these episodes, or each time you see some women arm wrestling, it just draws more women to the sport. So I think that's what it's about for us, right? We just want to grow the thing and show the world that it's for everyone, right? As long as you have arms, it doesn't matter what genitalia you may be packing.
Exactly. Yeah, and some of the fire the women bring to the sport too, I think it's very unique. The guys, we've discussed it before. A lot of us, we'll get up to the table, we'll shake hands, we'll go to battle, and then immediately after we're hugging, or just like it's just night and day. And a lot of times the women really carry that stuff over, and it's really like this. It's so personal, and I think that's great. I think anytime you can bring something like really personal to an audience, they can really grab a hold of it.
I think what's different, and I totally agree with what you're saying. I think what tends to be different with the women is, I mean, we have such great friendships off the table and out of that competition time frame, whatever that is. I know for myself, when I'm competing, I'm still so new at this that I don't quite switch it off as quickly and switch it back on. So I need to stay as focused as possible. I always try to be sportsmanlike, congratulate people. Apologies to Val for regionals when I beat you and ran away. I was just so happy to beat you. But yeah, no, I mean, for the most part, it's like staying as focused as possible. I'm not. I'm good at multitasking at home, but not in the competition. So yeah, some of us carry it over during the competition, but see us after.
Well, it was great in Vegas because as soon as we were done, like she comes running up to me and we disappeared for a few minutes. She's like, okay, we can be friends again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which is great. I love it because you have to bring that fire to the table. You have to, and there is a line of being disrespectful and unsportsmanlike and not being. And you only develop that as you grow. And you learn and you take advice, and you have to be willing to grow innerly too and take criticism. And you either, change it up a little bit or keep doing your thing, whatever works, But the women's aspect of the sport is a little different. I love it. It's always, the sisterhood has just been great since day one, since I started.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've had a couple very interesting incidents too, Val. I mean, on the Facebook live feed for the women's tournament when you basically got punched in the throat by that other lady whose name I don't remember. But I mean, I was so impressed that you didn't freak out or try to tackle her or something.
Oh, I had another one get in my face screaming at me at another tournament. I'm just sitting there like, really, this is happening? Like, it just seems like I'm always getting attacked. But you know what? All it does is just fuel me and motivate me. And it gives me a chance to show people who I really, truly am. And sometimes I might have to yell at the table because, you know, a lot of times the competition outweighs me, you know, and that's just, it takes a lot of power to pull through that. So I don't ever mean to be mean to anybody, but I can see where it could come across, you know, in the past. But it is what it is. You can't change what other people do. You can control yourself. And when you have soccer moms and children that are cheering you on and you see them out of the corner of your eye and you're just like, wow, I want to rip this person's throat out right now, but you can't. You can't. And you know what? I didn't have to do anything. I got her back because I got her with a little bunk on the top of the head there, if you saw at finals at Vegas, you know. I didn't even have to touch her.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's a good compliment.
Take care of it.
And it's a good compliment too when when you have to get super fired up or your opponent has to get that way in order to even compete, let alone beat you. I mean, it's a pretty good compliment. I don't really want my opponent to be like the nicest, most relaxed, happy to be there, laughing, joking around, and then whip me. That sucks. I want that guy to have to be in his best form to compete with me. So there is that line, like you said, of disrespect and respect. And really, sometimes getting fired up and getting to that place is a really good form and showmanship of respect.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to take.
Jodi?
I hugged her, you know. I told her that it's okay. I mean, but that's who I am. I love everybody. And it's fine. I don't care what anybody says or think. It's not my business, to be quite honest with you. I know who I am as a person, and the people closest to me know that as well, and that's all that matters. So, you know, that's why I love people like Jodi and other people among the sport where, you know, and Barb, she's always been very, very close to me. So it's different, you know. It is. It's much different.
What's your opinion on all that, Jodi?
Well, you know, I think you have to do what you have to do at the table. And sometimes things come out of you that you don't even know are going to be in there. Like, you don't expect it's going to happen. I'm as guilty of that as anyone. I think, too, like, I at the risk of sounding like a broken record, and Devin gives me trouble when I say this again, because it's like, you can't say the same thing all the time. You have to shake it up. So anyway, whatever. But, you know, we are, as women, there seems to be a basic acceptance of when it's okay to be aggressive in societal norms, like North American. Women are, we can stand up and be tigers when it comes to defending our kids. And I might just stop there, but there's not a lot of other opportunities for us to express the aggression that we have. We're just like men, like in a lot of ways. We have these primal instincts as well.
Sure.
The arm wrestling table is this incredible, safe environment where we actually get to put that stuff out there. And sometimes it's harder to rein it in, but I think it's like therapy. Like, I think you can go out there, you can work through all kinds of crap that you don't want to be taking out in your kids at home, you know? Yeah. So I think that it's not to say that you're being disrespectful if you're aggressive at the table. I don't think that that's the case. I think sometimes people take it a little too far. I did a horrible thing to Nadia one of the first times I competed against her. And I didn't even know I did it until it was done. And I walked away from the table and people started calling me jerky because I had her hand and I shook it at the end of the straps. That was me being bad. Like, I was that. But I didn't even know. Like, I lost control of my sensibilities at that point. And again, it comes with a lot of that, calming it down comes with experience. Like, if you look at Barb Spiegel, she's incredible. She's been arm wrestling 20 some years. Yeah. And she comes to the table. She is absolutely like probably one of the most respected women that I think of in the sport. Yep. And she's calm. She's respectful. But you can see if you watch her, she has this little switch that goes when she goes. she often doesn't initiate a match. She'll often catch you, and then it's like, oh, you're in trouble. If she catches you, she may be over here. She's going to bring you back, but she's got a little crazy on her, which I really respect. But she's honed it into that small portion of her competition. Whereas newbies like myself, I don't know, it's all over the place. I never know what's going to happen. So apologies in advance to anyone who may feel like I've done it.
Well, you raised a good point, Jodi, because you're right. A lot of times, women athletes who do exactly the same things as male counterparts are treated differently for no good reason. And you mentioned the UFC earlier, and it took Ronda Rousey probably a good 2 years before people really started to accept her, and now we're at the point where the last 2 UFC events were headlined by a women's match. So it's clear that people have to get whatever, they have to get comfortable with it, and then to a certain point they adjust to it and they start to appreciate it in the same way they appreciate men competing like that. Because I think you're right, you guys, this sport in particular taps into that primal rage or the instincts that we all have, and we like to see it, whether it's coming from men or women, when you guys just get up there and you're like sneering at each other and growling, and then it's like, go. It's just awesome, so
but the other reality of our sport is, I mean, we have women, and again, I've really only been training competitively 3 years at this sport. Obviously I have there's this guy I live with, I've been around him for a long time.
Tell us more.
Well, no, I don't. This is my 15 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You go, girl. You go, girl.
Just teasing. But now I'm derailed my train. What I was saying was there are some people who've been doing it a really long time who have a leg to stand on, I think, when they say that they want to be treated completely equally as the men. They want this much airtime, they want this much prize money, they want this. And I can understand if you've been doing this a really long time why you'd feel that way. But if we're being honest, we don't have the numbers yet. Once we start showing up in the numbers like the men, that's when we should expect to be getting the same treatment across the board. So that's why the WAL is great, because they're highlighting us, they're showing that women do this, and we are building more. More women are coming to the sport. So it'll take some time, but you gotta put the time in, or it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and the good news is with the episode that was just aired, the quality of arm wrestling is fantastic. It's not like we're gonna give people a shot because we have to. No, the arm wrestling is top notch arm wrestling. So oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Not my performance, but everybody else was great. Yeah.
Oh, come on now. No. Don't even do that to yourself. You did great.
Okay, no. It's all sickness and stuff.
But that's okay. I feel the same way about my performance, too. So I feel ya.
Well, we should all feel that way until we're like Devin taking 2 hammers home, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Unfortunately, Jodi had the flu a couple days before competing, and you guys know that just...
It's murder.
Yeah, it is. It's brutal. So
I actually just started training again this week. I was in the hospital for a bit, my whole body inflamed, blah, blah, blah. It's the worst virus I've ever had.
God.
So the timing was perfect, but it is what it is. People get sick. You still have to figure out if you can compete through it or not. So that's okay.
Right, exactly.
Next, sleep more.
Yeah. It's definitely a learning experience. I've had to I competed it was a WAL. It was the day after the Arnold. It was in Columbus, Ohio. And it was kind of a last second thing for me. And I remember me and Ron Klumber were both deathly sick during that tournament. And I remember feeling so bad. And then they called my name and I felt fine. Like as soon as they called my name, I was like, oh, I'm good. But like, of course you can't be 100% when you're that sick. But it was really a weird learning experience to go, and how am I going to do this? And then as soon as they called my name, I felt fine. It was crazy.
Yeah, that adrenaline is an amazing thing, isn't it?
It's the best drug ever.
Oh, you get right in and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, but you're right, Val, in the sense that regardless of how strong you feel and the endorphins that you can build up for when Michael Jordan had the flu, I almost said Michael Jackson. I'm sure he had a flu at some point. He probably performed. He probably was amazing. But I was talking about Michael Jordan. So, when he had that Game 7 or whatever and, like, basically collapsed at the end of it, but he held it together. But, you can't, when you have something that's, especially in our sport, I feel like it makes a big difference how you feel mentally before you even get up on the table. And if you're feeling weak or dizzy, it's going to have a huge impact. So,
it does. Yeah, I almost didn't get on the plane to regionals or Vegas.
I remember that.
Josh know that very well. You know,
Val had a lot going on in her life too, and that's it, right? You've got sickness, personal stuff, all that stuff all that stuff you bring with you, and you got to do it. Either you do it or you don't do it. I mean,
well, it was I had to do it for the sport. I had to do it for my coaches, my teammates, for the ladies. You know. And that's a lot to take on, especially when you're going into something so major. You know, you've never prepared properly. You didn't train the way that you should train, and you know that you're going to lose from that.
You did it, but you know what? You did it for your dad too, and you did it for yourself because it's just one of those things where you have to. I think it's a great example, right? Because you have to push forward in your life no matter what's going on. There's no going back, you know. And being stagnant is like accepting your death already. You know, you have to just keep pushing forward, and it can be very tough. But you did it. So role model, props to you, Val.
Absolutely. Yeah, and before sports, I did a lot of musician work. I did some acting, theater work. Nothing real serious, but what you do understand is like when you're really in there a lot and you're doing it all the time, you realize that no performer ever feels good all the time. Your voice might be shot, your feet might hurt. You don't, just everything's going wrong. Well, you still got to get out there on stage.
Sorry.
It's okay, Val. But you got to get out there and do it. Life doesn't stop because of it, right? We're performers. And this is really the same thing. We're performers. It's a performance. Oh, yeah. It just so happens to be our strength performance, but it really doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. And you got to get out there and do it.
Might be a little character performance happening there too.
Oh, come on.
In our sport.
I don't believe it.
We don't have a little bit of character performance. What are we watching this thing for?
Exactly.
True.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, that's true. Travis Bajan, right?
Get a cause controversy.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about women is they can be like that while competing. But again, off the table, completely different.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I think that the world's starting to see that more and more, which is really nice.
I agree, and I think like I said, I wish this was a 2-hour show because every match was riveting, and it was just. I don't follow arm wrestling in general overseas as much as John does. So a lot of the women and men that came over, I wasn't as familiar with as he is. So I loved watching him. Actually, Ray Cote has just asked a question online about that. What do you guys how do you feel about the Europeans being involved? Do you feel like it's a total game changer, or do you think that we're going to catch up to them? Because obviously they did quite well both on the men's and women's side this year.
Well, in particular in Sweden with the Swedish arm wrestlers, I mean, Fia said it in her little at-home piece. The women, Devin and I did a seminar in Sweden a few years back, and it was like this massive culture shock. We walked into this mega gym where the women were 100% revered by the men, and for absolutely validated.
They should be everywhere. Come on now.
You know what? They put in more training. I feel like we can catch up, but we have to make a much more concerted effort. Not to say, look, we had two Canadian women win finals. Is that right? Only two, Heidi and Barb, right? Win in the final. So, they beat out the Swedish women, the European women there. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like anything. They've had it longer. They've had media attention longer. Yep. They've been doing it longer. It's in the schools. It's recognized and supported. It's not this at all the same kind of stuff that I was just talking about where, culturally, that's why I said North American women have acceptable societal roles where we can exert this aggression.
Right.
In Sweden, it's like women arm wrestlers are they're it. They are where it's at. They can be sexy, strong, beast mode, all of it combined, and it's 100% more than accepted. It's like, as I said, it's revered. So I think that we need ambassadors of the sport to be drawing. Just what we're talking about. We draw everybody in, and we grow from the grassroots, and we just keep training. And as it grows, as the whole community of arm wrestling for women grows in North America, I think that the level of competition and athlete will grow with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. No doubt about that. I've trained with, and Josh has too. I know that I've trained with many female arm wrestlers over my career, And there's a lot of things I've noticed over the years. It's like, we always see arm wrestlers come and go, whether it's they go from, for a busy family or they move or whatever. But I've had a lot of male arm wrestlers quit because it just hurt too much. The sport hurt too much. I've never, ever seen a woman quit because it hurt too much. And I haven't trained with as many female arm wrestlers as I have male, but it's zero though. it's not even one. And they just never quit. And I don't know what that is. Me and Josh talked about it a bit when I came back out east last month. But have you two noticed that at all, or have you just not had enough experience, or what do you think about that, Jodi?
Well,
or Val?
Yeah, there's been a few that have ducked out from the pain.
Okay.
But the more women you get into it, the more you'll run into that. Yeah. But way back in the day, John, back in Connecticut and New York training day, yes, I don't know what it was, but we stuck with it. Now it seems to be growing much more, and a lot of them are sticking with it, but I've seen a handful drop off.
Yeah.
From the pain as well.
From my perspective and what I've seen, certainly rolling through the Ottawa High Hookers, world famous, club here in my garage.
Shout out.
Yeah, I know. Val's been here.
Yes, awesome. Painful, but awesome.
From my perspective, the women who stay in the sport are the women who came to the sport because they chose to come to the sport. By that I mean you'll see a lot of female arm wrestlers who are dragged into the sport by their husbands, boyfriends, whatever. That was how I initially started, because before we had kids, before we were married, I would, want to go see Devin compete, and he would never do this now. He would never do this. But then back in his pre-wisdom days, he'd say, if you want to watch, you got to compete. If you want to be there. So I'd get up and, it would go like this, like all the time. And so I don't know what I was doing. I trained. And I had no interest in it. Like I just, when I had kids, I'm like, phew, I don't have to compete anymore because I have these kids. And frankly, I hated it. I really hated it. It took away Devin from the family, blah, blah, blah. But I came back to it on my own. That Devin actually was trying to talk me out of it. And I hurt myself playing soccer. I played soccer forever, tore my ACL, my knee. And I'm very competitive person, and I needed something. I was like, okay, look, I've got this resource right here. Why am I not taking advantage of this? Blah, blah, blah. So I came to it that way, but it wasn't through him. And that's what I'll see. I'll see women come into our club who are brought by their partners who are male, and, they'll do a couple sessions, whatever, and then, that's it. They sort of peter off. But the ones who stick around are the ones who seek out arm wrestling on their own. And I have, I've got a couple women in my club right now who are doing really well, amateurs that are sticking around and doing it. And as far as injury goes, some of the women that have come and left have never left for injury. They have never left for injury. This is just my perspective again. They've always left because they have too many other commitments, usually with their family, their children.
Right.
So it's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of trying to figure out where you're going to fit in.
Absolutely. And that's the struggle, right, of being a smaller sport, is that we all have to work.
The struggle is real.
we all have to work still, and we all have to have lives, and then we have to have what I call basically the second career. If you really want, most of us don't start super talented at this sport. If you want to get somewhere, you really got to put some time in and some work, and it really turns into another career, whether it's, eating right, working out, training, traveling for training, sleeping enough hours. With the kids, that's even harder, Exactly.
What is this sleep thing you speak of?
Yeah.
That shit's overrated, man.
Do Oreos count as eating well, John?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
They do.
Just want to make sure I get the diet thing straight. I got questions coming in, you guys, about...
For you. Just say.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to see you tomorrow, Val, so...
I'll eat them.
Yeah, I will bring them. Let's see. Questions here. Okay, so Philippe is talking about when you guys were speaking of the Swedish women in particular, but he thinks that Ukrainian and Russian women are currently the best in the world. Do you guys agree or disagree? And would you like to see them in the WAL next year?
I don't want to see anybody in WAL. I want to walk up and take 2 hammers home and walk away. That's what I want. That's just selfish me talking. But of course, we want to grow the sport. People need to come and arm wrestle. That's the truth. Do I think that the Russian and Ukrainian women are great? I think European arm wrestlers are phenomenally strong. I think that they're, again, these are countries that put a lot more resources into training their strength athletes than in North America. So I think that you're going to have, for sure, people who have a ton more experience, a ton more, I think they're fantastic. I'm not gonna I don't have names that I'm gonna spit out because I'm really bad with names with arm wrestling. But I know that there's a ton of strong, amazing female athletes out there, athletes in general in arm wrestling, in Europe and all over the world. So I don't know, where you want to take that, Val?
I think if they add in some more weight classes, then we can do some talking.
Stop getting greedy, Val. We only got so much money to spread around those weight classes.
Yeah, that's the thing about having less weight classes. There's more loot, right?
Again, if you're looking at production time, though, like you guys just said, you've got 6 weight classes in 44 minutes. Yep. Start adding more weight classes, you're not going to see much of anything.
Right.
That's fine.
Well, I'm curious to see what the ratings are because
one, just saying.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of people have already said they thought the women's show is the best one of all of them. So I mean, if people keep saying that kind of stuff, and if as it gets replayed, as it happened last year, some of the shows had more views than others, and I think that's why they decided to do the shows this year the way they did. So maybe you guys will end up with a couple of shows. I mean, or even a 2-hour show would be awesome.
Well, I know that the WL is pushing hard. Like they've just gotten. We know that TSN is coming, so that's the sports network, which is ESPN's child here in Canada. Mm-hmm. But in I have some hours here for you. In the Caribbean, they're doing 17 hours of the WOW Championships, both 2015 and 2016. 10 hours in Australia, 10 hours in the Asia Pacific, and they're really pushing hard and getting it globally. So the more, as I said, the more exposure we get, the better it's going to be, and there'll be more events for everyone, right? Like there'll be more airtime if it takes hold. Which fingers crossed, and massive shout out to Steve Kaplan of WAL for working as hard as he does for us, because
absolutely
without him we wouldn't even be talking today, right? Like he's done more, in my opinion, for this sport than I've seen any promoter do.
Yeah, we're trying to get him on the show. I got to get this guy on the show. I got questions for him, man. I'll work on that. You're getting some shouts out here, Valerie, for lifting weights while being interviewed. You're the first person who's done that. So
sorry, you
guys are already totally
I'm trying
unique.
to play catch up, all right? Because as soon as finals were done, I mean, we had 2 weeks to plan the funeral services for my dad, because we had to correlate it with the military and whatnot. So, one thing I can say to people is, if you want to take this seriously, consider the rest time as well. 6 to 8 weeks off during the year, 0 heavy training, 0 arm wrestling, nothing to re-heal all the stress fractures and whatnot that you gain throughout the year. So I figured that was a good time. I was on week 7. I got dragged on the frickin' table. So I just said, well, I guess I'm not making it to week 8, but so I'm trying to play catch up here. This is my time. It's quiet here. So sorry.
I think it's awesome.
When I can, guys.
I think it was a good shout out. Don't worry about it.
Legendary. So Jodi, to speak to your point you just mentioned about all the hours in those various countries, I'm taking that as a hint as to which countries are going to be invited in next. I mean, I feel like if they're showing it on TV in those places, that they're going to open up regional, or at least I would assume they're going to open up regional tournaments in some of those places. I mean, Australia is an obvious one, and I think Southeast Asia would be amazing.
I think we should.
I can't speak to that. I don't know. I know that. I can't speak to that. I just know where.
I'm just saying what I would like to see.
Yeah, for sure. It's got to grow, right? As I said, we can't move backwards. We can't stay stagnant. We have to keep pushing forward.
I don't think you will. Like I said, I mean, having seen that show, I really feel like you guys have. I mean, there's a lot of really strong competitors and personalities. It's going to be hard for people not to want more of it. So that's what I would expect.
Your words.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm telling you the truth. I thought it was a great show. I mean, I was psyched for it. I mean, I just think that, like, you know, as you said last year, you got 20 minutes or something stupid like that, and this we got a whole show.
1 minute. It was between a
couple minutes.
Yeah,
it was like one segment with 3. Yeah, okay, I remember now. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was a good 1 minute, but it was still 1 minute. That was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I remember around here there were a couple.
Happy to have it, Lily. Really, sorry.
I know.
We were going to have it at all. We were going to have it at all. I do a lot of.
So it's like it's a step in the right direction. But I do remember there was a few serious female pullers up here that were really pissed off about it, and you know, I don't think they all went back this year. So hopefully this show will encourage them that they might get on TV. They might get 10,000 friend requests after the show gets aired. So it might be worth trying it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what I was speaking to before. You know, people who've been around, women who've been around for a long time, and you know, more or less complaining that they're not getting the respect. And I know you've trained, I know you've competed for 20 years, and hats off to you. But we don't have the numbers. We got to support it. We can't have all these episodes of like Valerie and I competing. No, I mean that would be great, but just you know what I mean. It's only
thanks, girlfriend. Thanks.
Maybe 2 other shows, Val, where it was just you and I hanging out doing fun stuff.
Dude, that would be the best episode ever. Come on now.
You guys have a good reality show.
But no, I mean,
all the haters would go crazy, girlfriend. We'd have the highest ratings of the entire country, for sure.
Right.
Sure.
But they got to show up. If they want, you know, people have to sometimes swallow their egos a bit and do what's best for the sport. And I know that can be difficult for people who've really put in the work already. And I understand where they're coming from. It's just that what their choices are not helpful.
Well, you know what? That's been a big topic of discussion amongst the guys, too. There's a whole bunch of people that, you know, I don't like the rules, I don't like the format, I don't like the starts, I don't like how they do this, I don't like this one guy, so they haven't gone to the WL. And frankly, like it or not, they are getting left behind. I mean, people have tried other things, and there are certainly other legitimate options, PAL, WAF, and all that kind of stuff, which are still huge. But the WL is for real. I think that's become very obvious over the last 2 years that they're putting maximum effort into this, and I think frankly, it's silly to not be involved in it, especially if you're here in North America.
I think that too, you know, understanding my other job is that I'm an actor, so I have a bit of a perspective from the production side of things. And it's not as easy just to say. I mean, people want to say it should be this way, it should be that way.
Right.
But if you're trying to grow a league, you have to put in implement a lot of different ideas and functional things that work for production, because you can't have a show that works like if you're just talking about the rules, as far as people complaining about the rules or the grip or whatever. You know, we all know how long a setup can take. We know how long, you know, how boring is it to watch all these matches stop because there's a little hop on the elbow or a little tiny foul to restart. I mean, you know, they have to move things along. And so these rules, and even though they're changing a little bit, they're trying to find their ground here. They're trying to find what works. And again, these are early stages with this league. And there has to be room for error. I mean, you get people walking in and complaining that things aren't the way that they are in another league or whatever. We've got to establish this is the ground up situation. You know, we're trying. The league is trying to make something that works, not just for the arm wrestlers alone, but for the population who is then going to support us. So it has to be something that's viewable.
Basically, we're nothing without the fans. I mean, you got to build up a fan base. I completely agree with that. It's got to be appealing for everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's tough
arm wrestling table's an arm wrestling table.
Yeah, and you need to, kind of speak to what you were saying, Jodi, is you have to start somewhere. And really, a 2-year period in this grand scheme of things is very short. And when you're in it and when you're in the middle of it, it could seem like a long time, but 2 years is a very short period. So details have to be ironed out. And the only way you can really iron them out is really by trying it. And it's the same thing where Josh tried a new strap system at his tournament in Boston a few weeks ago. Never been done before. Just a single loop around the hand, that's all. And he said, well, I got to try it. So guess what? We're going to try it in the tournament.
How'd it work out for you?
It was awesome.
They hijacked my freaking car.
Forget about the car. The car is another issue.
Well,
We'll talk
yeah,
about that in the next
that's
show.
out-
But
that's outside the
the
tournament.
strap was awesome. I'll tell you about the
Come on,
strap.
the competition, the tournament was awesome.
The
Of course,
tournament
it's
was
an arm
awesome.
wrestling tournament.
You know who won't like the strap, Jodi, is Devin, because this strap, it's much more, it's closer to like actual arm wrestling than other straps that we used. So it does take away a lot of the inherent advantage from the strapping system, but also it takes away, those guys that have spent 15 years mastering strap pulling, all that basically goes out the window. So people who spend a lot of time doing that do not like it. However, I mean, people were flop pressing in it, they were hooking, their top rolling, it's stuck on everybody, and at the end of the day, we got almost pretty much unanimous praise of it. So I do think it's worth other people trying just to see if they find holes that we didn't find in it or come up with some other problems that we didn't think of. But I mean, it was not my idea. I mean, we got the idea from various people who've been talking about it online for the last year or so. But I do think it's worth trying because the one thing that it 100% is completely fair regardless of what side of the table you're on. And to me, that's the most important thing. And if I feel like we can get a system that's truly fair and does not fail, that it's worth at least testing out. So I'm looking for the best possible way to set it up on hands. And I'm going to try to get a whole bunch of them, like 100 of them, and send them out to everybody so they can try it on their own and then, see what they think and go from there.
Very good. Yeah, you got to try stuff out. I mean, even, okay, let's use the UFC again. How many times, I don't watch the UFC. I know about it, but I know it's a thing. But I mean, their rules have changed along the way, right?
Yeah,
different stuff.
absolutely.
Again, it's all being implemented, and because we are where we are, we're starting this league. I'm not saying that people are just starting arm wrestling, and I don't want anyone to think that that's what I mean. But that the league is starting, and so we have to try new things. We have to see what works for the whole spectrum, for the competitors, for the fans, for the production, for the sponsors, all of it.
Speaking of things that work, I want to get in this question from Autumn Cote. I think you guys have probably both met. She's very interested specifically for advice from both of you guys on what you do for hand strength and side pressure. So why don't you go first, Jodi?
Well, I have a bit of a different training philosophy from Val when she was talking about her 6 to 8 week rest. That's everyone's got to do what works for them. I think that's the number one thing. But as far as I believe it. Also, I have this guy who chirps in my ear all the time, so sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. But I believe that you can arm wrestle so long as you're doing good form and light work. You can arm wrestle every day. The biggest thing that we do for hand strength really is blood flow to the connective tissue. So high volume, high repetition, low weight wrist work, and everything really stems from the wrist. So I don't even remember the last time I did a bicep curl because I don't train my biceps. I don't really do that, but that's what we do here. So and as far as side pressure, same thing. And side pressure is a particularly difficult thing to train because you're so prone to injury when you train side pressure if you do it too much. So you really have to be very careful and the blood flow it's almost like physiotherapy. Each session that we are doing, for the most part, I mean we vamp it up and there's different stuff, but it's almost like you're doing a physiotherapy session each time. So you're really just getting a lot of blood flow in, a lot of repetition, high repetition and low weight. That's what works for us.
How about yourself, Val?
I do everything. Anything and everything. I love it. I like to be well-rounded. But that's just my workout style is definitely different than a lot of people. But again, it just comes with my career path. Which actually arm wrestling led me into getting, into fitness and rising to the top of the field while I was doing it, So I'm excited to see where arm wrestling goes. I love total body stuff. functional training, hand and wrist, obviously for the arm wrestling, back, side pressure, and I completely agree. Lighter weight, heavy, more reps. I'll switch it up with doing heavyweight training, maybe a couple times a week, just to kind of add some velocity in there. But I love it. It doesn't even, any type of training, I'm game.
I
just like to torture people.
Training too, but that's just what we're talking about. Yeah. My kids ran me around the block for like a mile today. I thought I was going to die. They're so fast.
Oh, yeah. You did it to me while I was out there. Me too. I got conned into going for this run around the block that was like a mile.
That sounds fun.
And I ran after an ice cream truck like 2 years ago, and that was it, okay? I did nothing since then, all right? Like,
running's good for you.
Like, people are driving by, and then they're driving by again. Like, yeah, it was terrible. Terrible.
I run like 60 miles a week. It's making me feel bad over here.
What?
Josh runs a lot.
I think it's good though. Keeps me. I'll tell you what. I don't think I would stay at 210 if I wasn't running all those miles. I'd be like 230. So I think that's why I keep doing it. Plus, there are definitely ice cream trucks that I do chase from time to time. So
okay, we can all agree. We can all agree on that.
How much you can eat the whole ice cream truck? It isn't gonna matter.
You know what I mean? That's basically my philosophy. If I want to eat ice cream, then I have to run. So that's why I do it.
Or an entire box of Oreos.
Or no, it was not an entire box. It was just one sleeve.
Okay.
I just want to be clear about
all right.
Okay, that's I thought you were like really talking about the whole bag, because I was like, okay, I'm impressed.
Well, there was only one sleeve left, to be honest. If we're gonna be completely honest, I would have eaten more had there been more, but there were no more.
He's folding under questioning, everybody.
So, Jodi, do you follow your husband's table training time stuff? I mean, do you also believe that training on the table as much as possible every day if you can is the way to go?
Yeah, I believe that. Do I do it? No, and I'll tell you why. Because he does, and somebody else has to do everything else in the house. That's me. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's like a brilliant philosophy, but I don't get out there as much as I'd like to, for sure. I mean, I think Valerie's got to be in the same boat, but she's a single mom, so she's got it all around. And I've had those periods of time in my life where I'm single momming it for half a year at a time, and so I can appreciate what that's like. No, I'm not on the table every day. There are periods where I am, but light. If I'm doing it every day, it's all light. It's really position and blood flow. It's just all about that blood flow. And I want to be there more. As I said, I really unfortunately just started getting back to being able to train this week. Like legitimately, I think I put on 15 pounds of fluid in this time. But when I was sick, I was pretty wrecked. Now everything's kind of like loose, and ligaments aren't really where they're supposed to be and stuff. So things are starting to hurt a little bit. So I have to take it slow, but I'll ease back into it and try to get there. Plus, Devin's not here; he's gone away for a little while, and so I've got the rest of the club.
So I should come up now then.
Yeah. So the rest of the club is here, and they're doing great, but. They're we have an amazing club. I'm always like, if I ever want to arm wrestle, I have no excuses. I always have someone I can call who's around the corner who will show up and do it. Cool. I went off on a tangent. Next question.
We like tangents.
Next question, please.
That's how we use up all the time, is by tangents. So
yeah, pretty much.
Keep them coming. Yeah, I got plenty of questions I can keep asking you guys if you like. Obviously, this.
Ow! I'm sorry, I just ran into something.
Try not to do that. Whenever possible, it's good to avoid running into things I found in life.
Making me dizzy, Val. And also,
I'm not looking at her because
I know I gotta.
It's like I need some. What do you call that stuff? I need one of those bracelets that you got. But the contract question comes up. How do you feel about the contracts? Both of you being WAL pullers, do you like them? Do you wish they weren't there?
You got to have them. You got to grow the league. You can't have this. So again, my opinion, right? Everyone has their own, and I respect your opinions. Almost all the time, almost. But yeah, you've got to have them. You can't be wearing a WAL shirt one day and then a UAL shirt the other day. You have to have a fan. You have to build up a fan base without confusing your brand. Because if you do, they're going to be all over the place. They're looking for you in different places, and contract I think is important. It doesn't exclude you from arm wrestling everywhere, It excludes you from arm wrestling on televised events and, wearing another league shirt. So you got to look. It goes back to the same sort of idea before. If we don't make some sacrifices to our egos, then we're not going to grow this thing. And I fully believe that the WAL is the best opportunity for us to do some incredible things with the sport. I mean, they already have. Like we're on ESPN. Hello. Weekly shows for the last 5 weeks. It's incredible. So it's only if we keep investing, if we suck it up and sign a contract for a couple of years that says, yeah, we'll stay with you, then I think that's a very small price to pay for the big picture for us all.
It's all part of growing.
It is part of growing. So the point that's brought up,
gotta go with it.
Sort of in contrast to what you're saying, Jodi, is that in most leagues, if you have a contract, it comes with money. You're now our contracted athletes. We're going to pay you X amount a year in order to keep you on contract. The WAL doesn't do that
because they don't have the money yet. They're just starting, and you've got to get a sponsorship. You've got this guy Steve Kaplan who's reaching into his pockets, right? He's forking out this money for production, for winnings, for all this stuff, and we're starting. If we stick with it, that will come. That's going to be something. I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn, but one would assume that that's going to come, but you can't. I don't know. I sometimes feel like arm wrestlers happen to be the most entitled people on the planet, and I don't. I'm including myself in that, and so
sure.
Go ahead and hate on that comment, but we comment away. I've taken lots of negative comments, and it's okay. I'll roll with them. But no, you got. We've got to grow. We can't. The pockets aren't endless, right? Like we're starting, and
I'll talk to you later on.
And we've got to get sponsorship. You're not going to get sponsorship until you consistently replicate a successful program, and that is what is being established right now.
Mm-hmm. So basically, what I'm hearing from you, and tell me if I'm misinterpreting it, is. I mean, you basically feel like the benefits attached with being part of this league and having, signing the contract far outweigh the negative aspects. Because I've heard several people say things like that, even though, yes, you're not getting paid $30,000 a year, whatever, to be a WAL contracted athlete. You are in on the ground floor of something that has, more potential than anything that we, certainly in my lifetime, I'm 45, I haven't seen anything that's reached this level of notoriety. So basically stick around and see what happens kind of thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would like to see, I would love to see all arm wrestlers come to the WL, but if it's not something that is for you, go to another league, make your, whatever you're doing, and then, but, is it going to go anywhere from there? So it's like, how much happened before the WAL, right? Like we'd pay out of pocket, we'd go to tournaments, we'd bring home a trophy or a medal or a couple $100 that didn't cover our expenses, and we were happy to do that because we love the sport. And so if we love the sport, you have to look at how to sustain the sport, and the sport has to be grown, and this is such a great platform for us. So yes, that's what I'm saying.
Very good point.
Basically, quit bitching and arm wrestle.
Something like that.
Sorry.
I like that. No, this is not a PG-13 show. Swear away.
Yeah, you can say anything you want. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything takes time. Everything takes a process. Everything changes. Our kids grow out of diapers. That changes. They can wipe their own asses. That's great. But I mean, we still do it in the meantime until they get to that point, right? So. It's the same thing with anything. If you don't support it because you don't like this or you don't like that, well, just train and get better. It's that simple. Train how to do it. Train different areas. I know I will screw up sometimes if I jump from one table to the next, but that's my own fault. It's my own problem. I need to be a little bit more well-rounded if I don't like it, and that's just the bottom line.
I like it.
So, I'm just laughing. Herman Stevens, as usual, is putting jokes up here as I'm laughing at them as I'm listening to you.
It's hard to believe Herman.
But, all right. So,
Herman, who loves the WL contracts, right?
Yeah.
Herman is the WL contract number one fan.
The line to sign those things. He was number one. He pushed Devin out of the way. He's like, no, I am going to be the first guy to sign the WAL contract.
I knew it. I knew it,
Yeah.
Herman.
Herman's got a big match come up with Hermes Gasparini, and I think that after he wins that match, which he will do, he should jump in the WAL next year. I'm going to keep saying that. Not that he's going to listen to me for any reason, but I think he would be awesome in that.
Good luck,
'Cause
Herman.
he'd make 195. How much fun would it be to see him and Hot Chings and him and RVJ and Craig and all those guys going at it? It would be awesome.
Shake things up massively.
You know, I think so too. So Herman, think about it, man. And all right, who is just asking questions? Evan wants to know: are there any particular female pullers that you guys would personally like to see in the WL?
Is it
All
Evan
of them.
Burgoyne? Is it Evan Burgoyne or a different Evan?
That is no, it's not Evan. Not
take
Beard
Evan.
Evan. It's Evan Keller.
No, good then. Sorry. Sorry, what was the question?
Do you have any favorite female pullers that you'd personally like to bring into the WL? Obviously, you don't want to be anyone that's in your weight class, but say somebody outside of your weight class that you really like. So someone you would like to see in here?
All of them.
That's a good answer. Okay.
You think you got what it takes, then show up and be there and support. And it's that simple.
Yeah.
And any woman that is in there has, I think, both of our utmost respect and everybody else that shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had the guts enough to just show up, period. And you had to earn your way there. It wasn't just handed out and given. It was earned. So kudos to every woman that gets up there and even gives it a shot.
For sure.
I'm with you on
I
that.
want to see. Sorry, can I? Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to see some more Canadian women in. Year one WAL. This was the Canadian contingent. I was the only woman from Canada. So I flipped my lid this year at the Northern Regionals when we had this whack of Canadian representation. Loved it. There's a couple women, Laura Cook, who's incredible. You know Laura? She's a powerhouse. She's incredible. She's an incredible athlete. She's an incredible person. I'd love to see her come to the WAL. I know, for a lot of us, like, finances are always a problem getting there. There's all of my names are just kind of leaving my head right now, but I know there's a bunch of Canadian women that I'd like to see, and I think that it's great this year that, as you said, we had this great representation of Canadian women. So it's just going to inspire more people to come, more athletes to show.
I'd like to see Kathy Merrill from up here. She won the Worlds last year in the 40 plus Masters. And I think she's a dominant puller up here. I would love to see her in the heavy class. I'd like to see what she would do. I'm going to talk to her about trying to get. Oh, this guy Evan. He says he's from Ontario. He's not the Evan you're talking about, but he is a Canadian. So I don't know if that counts for anything.
It counts for everything, Evan.
All right, Evan. So you get some props up here, Evan. So good for you, man. Yeah, but I don't know. There's so many people I want to see.
Like we have come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's just because she has a special place in my heart. My children still use the big frog that we won for them at Dave and Buster's, when she came out to visit. So, yeah, it's people like that have, and same with like Laura. I mean, there's just so many that I guess just phenomenal memories have been made with that you want to see them be Nikki Sisko. My God,
yeah.
She should be there.
Well, she couldn't be there. She couldn't be there this year. She was
right.
She couldn't be there. She had surgery or something. Anyway, something.
Yeah. Right.
And
but the next, the following one.
Fisher, who was there the first year, who's awesome, and she wasn't able to come because of health this year too. So there's people. There's certain. I mean, I remember reading a bunch of threads about who's going to show up for the women, and there were a ton of women chiming in like, I can't make it this year, but next year for sure because of this, or this. And so it's, as I said, I feel like it's going to take off. I'm really excited. I'm really, really optimistic about the future for women in the sport and in the league, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
I agree. I think it's going to be fun.
For sure. I loved, I think it's phenomenal that you guys got a full episode of phenomenal arm wrestling. I just think that's going to be, if that doesn't bring more numbers out, then honestly, I don't know what's gonna, and I do think it's going to, because you guys, I think, really stepped up and proved exactly what all of us, arm wrestlers know. We've been supporting female arm wrestling for a long time. It's always great seeing you ladies pull. But, seeing getting the public to see, like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. They do the same thing for female UFC. It's no different. Look how much respect they've gotten out of it,
The men have just been scared all this time because they know that once we get out there, we take over, and then it's all downhill for them. So kudos to you guys for holding us off for so long, but now, sorry, it's over.
It's all over, huh?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that. Yeah, actually, I reached out to Heidi Cordner and Fia, who, both of whom took home hammers, about coming on the show later. So hopefully they're gonna join us in the next couple of weeks. I'd love to hear from them too. And I just, like I said, you guys have so many high quality pullers and just interesting personalities that are new to a lot of us. So it's just exciting, when you see people that are that dominant and have such power and also brilliant technique. It's just exciting to see. It's like, it's almost like learning the sport over again, because you didn't realize all these people are out there, and now you get to be fans of them and talk to them and learn from them. So it's doubly exciting. Like you said, Val, the guys have been around a long time, and we get an inordinate amount of the attention and the videos. There's lots of super matches with the guys. There's not as many with women. So I'm used to all those guys. But like these especially, I know you guys, because I've watched a bunch of your matches, but like seeing all the women from overseas, it's just exciting because, like I said, there's so much power and there's so much technique. It's just like, man, I wish I could do that. I want to learn how she do that and that kind of stuff. So it's cool.
What's really cool, too, is that as soon as you take, this was like my pitch all the time for getting women shown in any way, and I'm not for like full on. I'm one of several voices that said anything, but the great thing about bringing women into any sport is that not only does it then show other women that they can do it, but if you're talking about numbers and viewership, you've got more men watching too, because they want to see women do things. So you're just, as soon as you bring us in, your viewership it grows, right? So I think it's great all around. It's great all around, I think.
I noticed that some of the Monster Energy girls seem to be much more interested in your matches than the guys' matches, and a couple of them look like they had pipes on them. I was hoping maybe we get some of those guys to arm wrestle too. That'd be fun.
Yeah, now you've arm wrestled some of them, haven't you?
Oh yes,
yes,
and I love it. They're so much fun, and they're so open, which is amazing. Because let's face it, the body really isn't designed to arm wrestle. It's not, we're not designed to go with that motion. So people don't really understand how difficult it is to master a craft or even be that elite at it. So any women that's willing to step up and give it a try, kudos to them. And they were awesome. We did super matches with them. We let them go at each other. So
that's so cool.
They were great sports. And some of them I got to know.
Right? Like they feel less threatened when they can approach a woman to learn it. And that's it. It makes it much more open, and we're accessible. We're making things accessible for women. They can walk up and like, okay, this isn't some, 300-pound, 6'5" guy.
Right.
Hold on his hand and feel like I'm a little tiny person with. And
right.
So, and you've got women with all different weight classes, whatever. You've got the full gamut. We represent the spectrum, generalizing, the general population of women. You can
absolutely
from all walks of life, right? So it's accessible for everyone.
It reminded me of the point you just mentioned, Jodi, when I was watching the shows, and they pay those girls to sit there and they have to like be nice to other guys so the guys feel good about themselves and stuff like that, and they have like they're watching the matches and they have their little smiles on, like this is my job. But then when you guys were arm wrestling, to me it seemed like they were like really genuinely into it, and they were like, this is awesome.
Really genuinely, and we're into it. I remember talking to a couple of them. They were like, this is it was so boring until you guys came on, and oh, no, they didn't say that. I scratched that.
Oh, it's on record now.
Oh no, they definitely did, but
it's on record now.
Too.
Yeah, but I lied.
I'll back you up on that one.
Out of my mouth. I could take a lie for a living. Yeah, no, it's true. They were genuinely into it, And again, it just really, it just opens it up to see us do it.
Exactly.
Makes it okay.
Yeah,
and we're approachable. We're all like, we're so approachable. There's not a single woman arm wrestler that I've met. And lots of guys obviously too, but in our community, there's not a single woman arm wrestler who's going to say no. No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to arm wrestle you. Yeah, sure, you want to learn something? Absolutely, come on over. That's the way. Yeah, the way
I have some male friends up here who are like, I'm gonna arm wrestle Val. Watch this. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do, go for it. And like to this day, like 6 months, a year later, they're still like, damn it. You know, it's like they can't conceive of the fact that this is a professional sport, professional athletes, and because you're a guy, you're still gonna get your ass kicked, and you're just gonna have to be okay with it. You know, so it's like I don't know, it's fun to watch, and I don't know. I love talking to you guys. This is so much fun, man, because you have such personalities, and it's easier to talk to you guys than a lot of these tough guys we get on the show that are like, you know, afraid to talk and afraid to engage because they're too busy trying to maintain their like aura or whatever. But you guys are a blast.
Yeah, no, we're real people off the table. I mean, what do you know? And that's
There's a question for you. Go ahead, Val. Go ahead.
Us for us, you know. I know with me, I'm going 100 miles an hour every day. I mean, if there's something going, I don't put all my personal stuff out there. Most of the time, you won't hear anything of it unless you know me, you know. So it's hard for people to really get to know the genuine us and see that we're, you know, I love the ladies of arm wrestling. They're great. Yeah, it's
Ignore it.
Okay.
down over there.
Okay, if we're betting, that's Devin. Yeah.
Oh,
So he doesn't want you to have your own 15 minutes. He's trying to interfere. See, that's what's gonna go get the phone call. You gotta answer the husband calls, right? So Val, I gotta tell you, this has been awesome watching all those people in the background smile at you and wave and everything else when you're on this. Like, I want to be on this show too. What are you doing? Can I be part of it?
Yep. I got my.
they're all so supportive. I love it, you know. And that's what it takes is that motivation, encouragement. People kind of know my life a little bit on a personal level here, so they know how much harder I have to work to be where I am, and I'm just so grateful. It's awesome. It's awesome to finally be able to focus and train towards the sport. You know, before, sure, I was good just out the gate without, you know, anything underneath my feet, but it takes much more than that, you know, to go up against these women here. I mean, it does. So I'm so grateful for everywhere the sport's gone over the last few years, you know, everything building up to it, everything that's gone into it, to have that reason to make that push and be as good as I can be. You know, Vern Martell and Dave Hicks were there for me from day one, and they always just believed in me. And, you know, but I told them, I said, I don't have a reason to really put focus in. I can't put hours out of my day or week into training for this when there's nothing coming back from it. I just like to have a good time. I'll do well. I'll win some matches. I'll place high. And, you know, I go to have a good time with my friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now it's, you know, now it's much different, but, you know, you still get the perks of having a great time with all your good friends. You just work your ass off to get there.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. All right. You guys are making so many good points. I'm trying to think of what I'm gonna ask one of these questions, so these guys won't get mad at me.
Do it, Josh.
Let's see.
The fans can't turn on us.
Jodi, does having a spouse competing the same day make it hard to focus on your own matches, or is it added motivation?
Oh, it makes it really hard to focus on your own matches. You know, I've never experienced like a maintained level of adrenaline, like for such an extended period of time, as when I'm competing and Devin's competing. And it's never like I'm competing and Devin's not competing, right? Like we're always, except for the Brockville Rib Fest that I just competed at and he wasn't. But no, it can be very challenging. That's one of the things that I'm trying to work on right now, is being able to tap my adrenaline when I need to, and not maintain it all day, because it gets really difficult. You know, as Valerie knows too, you know, we compete in the morning in these preliminaries, and then we have this long drawn out, typically the women are first, and so we have this long time where all the men compete before we get to our finals, and that can be extremely draining, right?
Yeah.
You know, you guys all know what I mean by
Absolutely.
that, I'm sure. So it can be difficult, and then if I'm in the crowd cheering my husband on during that time too, and I mean, really, if we're being realistic, there's a whole lot more expectations on him than there are on me, and so that's just an added level of pressure that is always playing on your mind. And yeah, it can be exhausting. So that's part of the mental game that I need to develop. Is to be able to compartmentalize that a little bit better. But yeah, definitely. Plus, I'm screaming a lot. Like I scream a lot.
I know you do.
When I'm competing, it's like impossible for me not to. I have to tell you, I have to shout it. This was like the best negative comment I've ever seen. There's been some really funny ones.
Good.
But some guy wrote after Devin's performance, and I don't know who it was. I would name him. I would totally name him if I could remember who it was. But he wrote in, watching Devin arm wrestle is annoying, but when I have to listen to his wife, I want to throw my TV at the wall. So for me, that's like the biggest compliment because, I've really engaged you and I've made you.
Oh, yeah.
So you're welcome.
That's the right way to look
exactly.
at it.
You're welcome out there.
Yeah.
You're doing well if people start to hate you. I mean, that's always a good sign. I think you're right about that.
I used to get so upset when people would comment on all these negative things. And I used to write back and I'm like, no, he doesn't listen. No, he doesn't listen. You should try going to war and blah, blah. And I used to fight all these things all the time. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? I'm like, because they're being so horrible. And he's like, yeah, but then there's this whole other group of people who are just really happy that he's doing what he's doing. And
right. You're sitting there. No Corvette 420 guy. You're wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, who's like a 16-year-old,
Yeah.
Probably.
That's it. I can leave it at that. It's great entertainment value. You gotta hate people, you gotta love people. You just gotta tune in. I don't care. Just keep watching. Hate me all you want.
Yeah, honestly, the more hate you get, it really is a signifier of popularity. Because once people are paying attention to you, there's always that very loud and vocal minority that's just gonna have nothing positive to say and is gonna try to crap all over you, no matter what you do, no matter however you do it. The Olympics, we've seen the same thing. We've got women winning gold medals, and they forgot to put their hand over their heart during the freaking national anthem, and the whole world blows up. It's like, come on. This woman's had maximum level concentration for 3 years leading up to this, wins the gold medal for you, and you're going to whine about some tiny little thing that means nothing. It just goes to show you, no matter what you do, there's going to be someone that's going to whine about it.
There's always going to be. I mean, come on. Like, what do you win a gold medal?
Exactly.
Your job is done.
Yeah.
If you stand upside down naked with a diaper.
I totally agree.
Still, props to you on that. You've won us the gold medal. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I mean.
Representing your country in general. I mean, that's get behind your people.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe the WL will be a pathway to
get up
the
and do
Olympics.
something about it.
Yeah.
Step on up to the table yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. They won't do that.
No.
It's much easier to type in anonymity than to actually. I mean, can you imagine if they came out and had to actually arm wrestle you guys? I mean, they'd never come out of their house again as long as they lived.
This girl's annoying. Enter.
Did you see? I gotta bring that. Did you see the pastor? The pastor video? Oh, it's on my page. Or someone sent it to me. It's pastor somewhere. I'm sorry, in the States somewhere. There's a video clip of him talking about how the wife is beneath the husband according to the Bible, blah, blah, blah. And he's challenged all of these. He's challenged all of these women over the years to prove him wrong.
I saw that guy.
By coming and arm wrestling him. And and if anyone can beat him, if any woman can beat him, then he'll admit that maybe women are as strong as men. But I know I got to give you the link, Val. You can
please. Because I want to prove to him that if you're going to be a pastor, why don't you read the Bible yourself and realize you don't judge other people.
Right.
So I would love to prove that point.
Yeah, I was really inflamed at the time because I was like, I got to do something about this guy. But there was anyway. Carrying on.
That guy, I did see that video, and I mean,
down and do it. He'll be like our gazelle, and we'll be the lions.
He's a clown. You know what I mean? People like that are not even worth the attention. I can't imagine. I mean, who's in that guy's church? That's what I don't know. Who gets up there and goes and shows up at this guy's like, yeah, I agree with this. This sounds good to me. Come on.
People were like, yep, that's right. My wife, she's like that too. Yeah, she's beneath me. Blah 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 blah. They're all chirping in the background anyway.
Yeah, because the Bible says
I want to live there. That's for sure.
As your equal.
Yeah.
And that's what the Bible says. So that's kind of.
Should go straighten him out, Val. When Jodi shares the video, let's go. We'll do a road trip and straighten this.
I've beaten all the pastors in my church, and there's like 5 of them.
See, Val's very spiritual, and she can quote her scripture and take them down. And I've
exactly
cheer in there.
We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen, and we're gonna put the video up.
Of getting up there and actually losing, so
you can't lose this guy. That's just not allowed.
It's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Yeah. So that would be amazing. We'd have to put the video up on Hand Control Worldwide.
Otherwise, what do you want me to say?
That would be a viral video. That would get millions of hits. I mean, can you imagine how awesome that would be? We have the little clip of him saying, "I can beat any woman in arm wrestling," and then you're just going, wham! That would be,
I do it in a bikini too?
Epic.
Add some more fuel to the fire. Just saying.
We got to make that happen. We got to make that happen.
Sometimes.
So,
I just need
for you guys, do you guys have, I know you're doing the WL thing now. Do you guys, either of you have interest in, world championships, that kind of stuff, or are you going to just stick with the WL for a while?
For myself, I'm going to stick with the WAL for a while, not because I don't want to go do other things, but because I just don't have time to. I have 3 kids who are all professional workers. They're working stiffs, and my husband needs a lot of help, like legit in so many ways,
like a full child.
And, and so I do stuff too. So it's just logistically, timing wise, I've got to pick and choose my opportunities and battles. So WAL is where it's at for me.
Yeah, I tried to go to Bulgaria. I asked about it. They said they changed the rules this year. Apparently, they don't want competitors to go and represent anymore. So
that's a bad rule.
Hey, you're lost. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other issue with the 3 nationals and all that stuff, and I've expressed how I feel about that numerous times. I think it's idiotic, and we have to fix it, because I do feel that if we sent the best that North America has to offer, we'd be taking a lot of golds home over at in Bulgaria, Hungary, wherever. And I think, between Canada and the United States, we have incredible talent that doesn't go, which I do think is sad. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be some kind of connection between the two, and it'll all meld together and wind up in the Olympics in 10 years, which would be even better.
I do have sort of a flip side argument to that.
Let's hear it.
To the showing up as North Americans to the world, and this is it. This is where I might show that I'm a little bit of a nice person at times, but you're looking at these countries who are carded as arm wrestlers, so they're being paid a salary to compete in these world games, and when they bring home medals, they're paid. Yeah. They're paid like $100,000 for a gold medal. That may not be the value, but they're paid. We're not. Right. We're not. So we're walking in there. We're out of pocket unless we have sponsorship, which is really hard to get. We're going in. We're paying money to go do this thing that not everybody's showing up to, right? Because people can't afford to do it. And if we're winning, we're taking $100,000 away from someone who's actually making money at the sport.
Right.
I want people to make money at the sport. I want that to happen. I'm not going to make any money for going and winning a world medal in the WAF. I'm not going to make any money, but the Europeans are. Not all of them, but there's a lot of countries that are, and so that's just my little flip side to that argument there.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want somebody, like, if I was doing my job, someone just walks in like, oh no, I'll do it for free. It's fine. It's cool. My boss is like, yeah, you do it for free.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I don't know. I see it from that angle too.
So let's see. Make sure I got all these questions in there. I think I got them in. Skipped a couple of them, but because you guys answered them you answered them while you were talking.
Oh boy.
There's a lot of WAL questions that pretty much get asked every time we have somebody from the WAL on. I think you guys covered almost all this stuff. What other things, do you guys have any other topics you wanted to discuss? Because we've had you on here an hour and 20 minutes. I know you probably have lives to get back to and all that kind of stuff.
Climate change? No?
Climate change, let's do it. This show has had not enough controversy tonight. We can talk about
warm,
GMOs
isn't it, guys?
and vaccines and steroids. John's favorite subject is steroids.
Yeah.
Who wants to talk about steroids? Let's talk about steroids, sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Go ahead,
you think
Josh.
that WL should start testing immediately?
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
We're going to bring in new athletes. You're going to have some of the top of the crop all the way, and then you're going to bring in new people, and you're going to show. Okay, what is this about, right? We want to grow the sport for who? For us, for the future, for our kids. Come on, that's what it's about.
Yep.
We're all about, I mean, our club, we have a kids club. They're crazy passionate. They're crazy strong. They work so hard. They love what they're doing. They're developing this sport before puberty. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
You started training when you were 2, like my daughter. So yeah, I don't want them to grow up. I don't want them to grow up and think the only way that they're going to win is if they have to inject chemicals in their body.
Totally agree.
It's not true, and it's just not true. It doesn't have to be that way. You know, I happen to again live with someone who's proven that that's not true. So yeah, no, I think you need to test. And also, I mean, look at, if we're just talking about Olympics right now, the Russian team is out. Why? Because they use drugs. The world right now is in a time where we're changing the perspective that we have on these strength sports and everything. It's just not acceptable anymore. You know, it's not, we can't, again, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing over. We have to move forward. We can't stay where we are and go backwards, right? The future is showing our children how to be amazing athletes and do the best that they can to take care and protect their bodies along the way.
Yeah.
And really show our kids and everything what the human body can really do if you just allow it to happen. Like, for some reason, people still think that you can't do all these crazy things that your body can absolutely handle. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with people's brains where it gets stopped. You know what I mean? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, I think too, for a long time, you know, you justify your behavior, right? So you have, you have Joe. I do not want to pick an arm wrestler's name. So if there's a Joe Blow out there, I apologize. He's actually an arm wrestler, but Joe Blow,
poor bastard.
Right? So Joe Blow is using. We all know he's using. He's really good. He's got a couple of years of smashing everybody, and then you're in his weight class. And you're like, well, I'm not. I can't really beat him, and maybe I just need to use a little bit. And well, then, so that's John Blow now again. Sorry.
Oh no.
And that's your Plenty of Fish name, I know. Anyway, you've got then you just get people who start justifying, well, everyone else is, so I need to, and it just becomes this insane expectation that you put on yourself, and is part of the culture, and so we just accept it's been part of the culture, but we need to be progressive. We need to move out of this.
Let me ask you both this. Travis was on the show. He said he thinks that only like 10% of arm wrestlers use, but 75% of the top arm wrestlers use. Do you think that's true or false?
I'm not in a position to comment on how many people use steroids in the sport. I know it's there. I know it's prevalent in a lot of areas. I think probably to some degree, what Travis said, like, I think probably he has more of a leg to stand on to make those kinds of assessments. I know a lot of new people in the sport aren't and don't, but I don't know to tell you.
Fair enough. What about you, Val? What do you think?
I think it's a toss-up. It is. It happens. People do it. It is what it is. But again, if that's what somebody feels that they need to do to be good, then that's their priority. And then
that's a problem.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to do that. You're just not putting the work in, and you're not.
It sucks. It does. It sucks. But you know what? It's so gratifying when you beat people that do.
True. That's true. Absolutely true.
You can't take that away, and you're always faced with adversity all the time. It sucks. Sure. Absolutely. You know how many, like, I know Russia got kicked out of the Worlds.
Yeah.
One of the time. You know what I mean? And it's like, these are people that I have to compete with. So the times that I've beaten them is huge. It's huge. It's tremendous. But again, it is just a way for some of us to step up to the plate and show that you can do this just by putting in the hard work. It doesn't happen overnight. It shouldn't happen overnight. It takes years and years and years of building and diligence and putting in the hard work. I mean, it's just that simple.
If you look at it this way too, I mean, if you're talking about, I respect the fact that you love to beat people who are using, and that's great. But if you look at what your goals are, right? So for myself, I want to be able to do this for a long time. I want to have longevity in this sport. And when I'm competing against people who have an arm that I have to be ripped on that is super chemically enhanced, I'm even if I'm beating them, doing damage to myself that I don't need to be doing to myself. If I'm competing against people who are strong and they've gotten there and they've made their, whatever. So it's also about preservation. And we're all going to be in the sport a whole lot longer with less injuries if we are competing clean. That's just the reality. And I mean, I know there's an argument to be said that steroids help you to recover from injury faster. And yes, they do. That's what they were designed for. They were designed to help people who needed to be recovered. Obviously, this is not the same idea. There's an abuse of steroids in our sport and a lot of strength sports. But the body
don't last long either.
Body will heal better when you nourish it and you feed it and you rest it and you treat it with some respect.
Absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference between temporary use of steroids for a medical issue that that's been prescribed versus just willy. I mean, we all get friend requests from guys that have drugs as their profile picture, and they're going to sell you everything, and you just take all this shit, and you're going to become a beast in no time. So people are doing it in a very stupid fashion, and they're taking advice from some guy in the locker room who knows nothing, you know what I mean? So it's very dangerous, it's scary, and you're 100% right, Jodi. And Val, too, you as a mom, and me as a father, John, you're the odd man out here. Sorry, buddy, get some kids.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, it's like,
right?
No.
You worry about you don't want to set example for your kids that they have to do that stuff in order to succeed. So I mean, I agree completely, and I do hope that I think that and again, without mentioning any specific names, I do think that the top level guys would look a lot different if the testing was rigorous and continuous. I think that it would change up some of the final placings.
And I would to touch on that, yes, we would lose some of these guys, but you know what would happen? I mean, there's enough of a distinction between certainly prize money of the top couple and then, guy number 5, 6, 7, 8 in the WAL, but you're going to have so some of those guys are leaving to go to their leagues, but if you get a clean league, fair play, you got those guys coming back in and building again because they feel like they have a chance to represent, and not just be crushed by the top abusers. Sorry.
I totally agree. I hope we get Steve on the show because I want to ask him about that at length because I do think it needs to happen. I feel like to me it adds legitimacy to the sport. I mean, if people are being tested, then that puts you on the same level as various other professional sports that we all follow.
Right.
That's it. I don't think you can get the sponsorship that you want without it. I just don't think there's credit. I don't think there's validity in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't think you can have the recognition and the respect of the sport if you're not. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you definitely can. I mean, the UFC, started really cracking down on drug use, and I mean, even WWE has been really, really hard on it in the last 5 or 10 years. So, I mean, you certainly cannot have legitimacy. You can't as a strength, especially on TV as strength sport, without having that kind of testing. You're absolutely right.
Well, you don't want to be known for that either.
No,
I mean, you don't. How are we going to get more people in if some women don't want to because they're afraid?
Right,
and they're afraid of what they have to go against. And, I mean, they don't want somebody to roid rage out on them. I mean, that sucks. That sucks.
The other element to this, too, goes back to what I was saying before about starting and the cost of starting up leagues and whatnot. So it's extraordinarily expensive to test properly, to test with it. I mean, is it you got to get the sponsorship so you can then afford the testing, or do you find the way to afford the testing and get sponsorship in?
Exactly.
Right.
I think it's a difficult place to be in. I think it's a difficult position when you're starting a league to make those decisions.
Yeah, you're right. And it's easy for us to sit here and say, he should do this, he should do that, he should do this. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, hopefully as the league grows and as it matures over the next few years, these are the kind of things that we'll see happen. As you said, when more sponsors come on board and there's more money, that he's not just paying everything out of his pocket like he is now.
Yeah, I have this weird feeling if we're talking about it, then he is too.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is.
We're talking about...
the testing.
Oh.
Yeah, like, Steve, I'm sure Steve Kaplan and all of his guys and the upper ups there are probably all talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, you guys, we kept you on for 90 minutes, so I feel like we got more than our fair share, which we are very appreciative of. Oh, I wanted to ask you one question, Jodi, even though this is, do you think that, what do you think would have happened if John Brzenk had been there right-handed?
John Brzenk would have been destroyed by Devin Larratt. This guy. Crushed. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, yep. I know. Look, I am the most biased person on the planet. So take it from where it comes from. I recognize that. Wait, correct me if I'm wrong. The reason he didn't show up to the WL finals was because he was injured. This is what I heard. Didn't he compete like a week later in somewhere?
Yeah.
In Japan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Deduce it on your own, people. I don't.
Fair enough.
Devin was finally 3 years post-op.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
Yeah, he was. He was amazing.
He's my son's favorite arm wrestler because of the way what he likes in particular is when he just starts looking at the guy and shaking his head. He starts laughing. He's like, look, he's doing it. It's his favorite moment. He loves it.
Did you show him that Aussie Man review?
Yes,
that was hilarious.
That was very funny.
That was funny.
That was so funny. He laughed and laughed and laughed. We watched it like at least 10 times back to back to back.
Nice.
So. Anyway, you guys, this has been great, awesome. We did, John. I know you know Trenton. I never met Trenton, but we did want to just give a little shout out to Trenton Meyer's family and stuff. That was a very unexpected passing. He's been sick and such, but he's still a very young guy, only a few years older than me. I don't know, John, if you knew him. I didn't. So
yeah, I met him quite a few times, and what a super cool, just a dude. You know, he never had to try. He was just one of those guys you just being around him. You're like, this is a guy. This is a real guy. Yeah. Like, he's not trying to be. He didn't try to be super confident. He didn't try to impose who he was on you. You just knew he was super cool, and he was just the nicest guy. What a fierce competitor. You know, we talked about earlier turning it on and off. That dude, when he got to the table, he turned it on. Mm-hmm. He was a bad man. And, we're definitely the arm wrestling world is certainly going to miss him. And, I can't imagine what his family feels like. So we just wanted to, give a little mention to him. That's for sure.
Thank you for bringing him up, because I did have the pleasure of meeting him in New Orleans. My husband actually spent some time with him at his house, and amazing stuff. I talked back and forth with his wife and with him when he was first diagnosed. I actually met him in New Orleans, the WAL event, and that was the event. Right after that, he had this massive inflammation attack, which was the beginning of his illness.
Yeah.
And so we did there was a lot of back and forth talking in the early stages with Trenton and his wife Jodi about I'm a little bit into the holistic world and kind of that kind of stuff. So we were talking about a bunch of different things, and I mean, she's incredible. She's so strong. Yeah. They had all these kids and a new baby and all that stuff. And Trenton was a wicked cool guy, and I was really honored to have had a little bit of time to get to know him. And it's a very sad loss for our community, for sure.
Absolutely,
He'll be missed
for sure.
All right, on that somber note, we will say goodnight to all of you guys, and again, thank you very much for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah,
awesome.
You guys are definitely welcome back anytime. You guys were a lot of fun.
Anytime. Yeah.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right.